Good morning. Monday, June 28th, talking stocks with Coach B. Thank you if you're in here already. Kind of had a long weekend. I'm still waking up right now, but we got a little time before the market opens, so we should be all good. Real quick, before we get into CLOV and Gamestop, those are my two biggest plays. But if you've been following me on the channel, I'm also in AVXL and BNGO. So we got some movement. Actually, it looks like everything's up right now. But I'm going to switch over here real quick. What is this? Gamestop. So AVXL, I got in somewhere around here, and they had some great test results. That's why they were starting to move. Analyst price target started moving up a little bit. I think we saw as high as like $35. But this morning, the stock is, and you can't tell on this, I'll move over to the chart in a second. So it finished the day on Friday at roughly 25.27. And this morning they came out with some positive results, I guess, in some of their tests, and they announced that some of their, I think, Parkinson's results have been like greatly improved. And so, I mean, this thing, I think right now is trading at pushing 33. So it's way up here right now. And so it's looking for a huge gap up. I think it's up like 16, 17% this morning. And honestly, I'm probably, if anyone else got into the position when I did, when I talked about it on the stream at 1850, I might look to get an exit here this morning when the market opens, and then wait for it to kind of come back down and maybe fill this gap before, or consolidate a little before maybe re-entering again. I mean, this stock, I haven't done too much research into it, but I have some friends who are really big into it, and they're saying, as these catalysts keep coming and test results keep coming, this stock could be trading upwards of $100. So it's still something I want to position in, but on such a big move, I might look to exit a little bit this morning. So the next one, BNGO. If you guys have been following me, I'm looking for it to kind of get up here, and can't even show it on. I'm still using Webull. It's only like my third day. I can't figure out how to get up at the top of the screen here right now without dragging it. Let me see. There we go. Get up here and test this 1569. So I think it's gonna run soon. It had a nice run and consolidated, very similar to what we saw with CLOV. Over a good 2 week span. Just closed above the moving average on Friday, and I'm expecting it to kind of bust through 8 and then maybe, get up here above 9. On my TD Ameritrade account, I did have some other resistance levels kind of marked off, but I mean, right now I'm just trying to get into that 8 or 9 range. We are moving up right now. I think BNGO is currently at $8. So it's right above here. It's looking to gap up as well. And I'm just, no real news announced right now for BNGO. They did get added to the Russel 2000 on Friday though, so that could potentially maybe be doing something too. But I think any buying may have taken place here because we did see a nice bigger volume day on Friday. And my understanding, at least, is that when these stocks get added, the ETFs that track them will usually add, before or leading up to, not necessarily after the inclusion. But I could be wrong. I'm not 100% on how all this, getting added into different indexes works. All right, so GameStop. Last week was supposed to be the T21. If you've been following the channel, I've talked about it, made a couple videos about it. And usually on those T21 days, we've seen a lot of big upward momentum. But anyone who's been following GameStop for, the last 6 months knows that every time there's a big day that you're expecting, it always gets hammered back down. And I think that's part of the psychological game that's being played with like these short sellers and hedge funds and everything else. But either way, the T21 thing didn't really pan out. the stock did kind of still hold this level that it was. Um, if you notice, all but this June 21st day, it's been able to close back above 200. And so, or even on that day, it still closed at a little over 200. So it's been holding that 200 level, even though it dips below. We've still been able to close above it. Um, really hoping for some sort of bounce here. There was some exciting stuff that, not really new announcements, but there was a prospectus that GameStop released a while back that no one really dug into, and somebody on the Super Stonks subreddit kind of went in there and noticed that there was mention of the NFT and crypto stuff, and also how it would relate to like the DTCC and some other stuff. So, um, not necessarily any sort of catalyst for today, but basically the way it relates to if a squeeze was to happen, or even insinuating that maybe they are going to issue like some sort of crypto dividend, whether that be an NFT token or like a crypto token. And how that relates to, you know, actually igniting the squeeze. And we might get into that later, but GameStop itself is actually gapping up right now too. So looks like everything is, GameStop, real quick, let's get that number, closed at 209, and currently trading at 210. So not huge, but it did have that major movement at the end of the day on Friday where it jumped up from 198 to almost 211 in 1 5 minute candle. So GameStop not gapping up terribly. BNGO on the other hand, we closed the day down here at 741. It's pushing 8 right now. And like I said, AVXL is just on a monstrous run, closing the day around 24, 25 last week, and now pushing upwards of 32. That's all news based, and that's what I've been kind of waiting for on this stock. I think they have another announcement that's coming on Wednesday too. Um, but I don't know. With that much movement, I might, like I said, I might end up. Let's see. I'm going to see what my those options contracts I have are worth when the market opens. I might actually take profits there. So CLOV, we never got that announcement. On the Russell 2000, we were kind of, I wouldn't say expecting, maybe hoping that we would get it near the end of the day or at some point. But I mean, not being included was already kind of priced in at this point. I'd say that's over with. Um, but I don't think it's a big blow to the stock. Again, like I've talked about before, one of the reasons that they were not able to, or the major reason that they weren't able to get included into the Russell 2000, was because of the small amount of float that is on this stock. Like there's so much of the stock that's all locked up in Class B shares and had to do with the voting rights. But that actually makes it a better short squeeze candidate. So it's not terribly bad news. I mean, getting added late last week on Thursday or Friday would have been probably created great buying pressure, which could have moved the stock up and maybe helped us ramp up with some sort of, gamma related stuff that to get us to like 17, to close last week. But I think in the long run, for this stock, not long run, but for the short squeeze of this stock, it's better that a lot of these shares are locked up. So we didn't get in. We didn't get in. It is what it is. CLOV, obviously, wasn't too long ago we were up here, but we consolidated. We kind of had our little run up last week where we touched 15, saw some heavy resistance there, but now it looks like we're probably holding this moving average now. We kind of closed right above it. Hopefully, we'll continue to go upwards. Another YouTuber by the name of Tarheel Blue, just on his stream last week, made some good points in relation to AMC. And, it also works same type of thing with GameStop too that as I was watching. But we saw this major growth, right, in a short period of time. And then we fell down, but we didn't fall back down to 6. And what we've done is we've created a new kind of floor, at 13. So now if we get another run and then maybe we'll come down and we'll settle at 20, or maybe we'll come down and we'll settle at 30. But what his point was is we're creating a new floor and kind of a new base. And the higher that floor or that base is, when the squeeze actually does happen, the higher the squeeze potential is, right? Because, if you have a short squeeze that kicks off at $6, you're not going to probably get as high, in terms of multiples. So, if the squeeze has the potential to make the stock go times 10, well, times 10 from here is 60. Times 10 from if we're able to establish a new base at 20 or 30, we'll put it at $300. And I really believe in that. And I think he makes some great points about that. That we're kind of establishing this new base. Then we'll move up, establish another base, and establish another base. And I'll actually talk to him a little bit about that today. He's going to come on the stream. So I think in about 30 minutes, so at 6:45 my time, he's going to come on. We talked for a long time last night. We tested out the picture-in-picture thing so that I can get a guest to come on here, and so that I'm looking forward to that. If you guys already haven't checked him out, I put his link to his channel in the description of this video, so you guys can go on there, click on it, subscribe. Obviously, support another guy that's out there doing videos on CLOV, and that sort of thing. I haven't got to any of the comments yet, but let me answer this one. No, I don't think he's going to be slamming vodka this early. He might be. One thing, actually, because me and him were talking about it last night. So anyone who's sitting here watching the video right now, are you guys able to see all of the chats? Like if anybody else is chatting and everybody can see it, because I wasn't sure, because I'm looking at this through a different software. Me and him were talking about it last night. So, okay, yeah, all right. So it looks like you guys can. Okay, cool. So anyways, with CLOV, I'm expecting some upward momentum too. I think we're finding our new base, our new floor, and I think that's gonna, potentially catapult us to newer heights. I did check Swaggy stocks earlier, and the max pain for this week again, as of right now, is $13. So that's that point that where they want to pin us to. But I should remind you guys too, like 2 weeks ago, AMC's max pain was 30 and they would close the week at 60. So it doesn't always work out that way, but it's just good sometimes to know that that's where, they're trying to pin the stock to. And it's 13 this week. I'm going to check the iBorrow desk real quick just to see where we're at on these stocks. And also we'll check the Ortex data, and then I'll start checking out the comments. So this is Gamestop. 250 looks like a big number. 8,000 calls will go in the money. 100,000 shares available, and this ridiculously low borrow fee, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But 100,000, that's not too bad. Does look like maybe some shares got returned. About 65,000. CLOV. This is still Friday's data. So looks like the borrow fee is continuing to rise. Oh no, it's still Friday. Has not updated. Yeah, so this was where we left off Friday. So we'll check on that in a second. Ortex. Let's go up here first and see kind of the end of the day stuff. Shares on loan, 48. I believe that was 46 when I signed off on Friday afternoon. So about a net difference of 2 million shares. Obviously down from last week. As you can see, 7 days ago it was 59 million. But they did borrow, an extra 2 million. The utilization's back up to 100, which means, all those shares that are out on loan are actually being used. And cost to borrow, let's go down and we'll look at it over there. But it's showing at 19.7. But over here was we started looking at this last week. Right now, we're looking at a minimum of 11. with a high of 99, mid-range of 59%. Last Friday, that number was ridiculous. I think it was like the mid range was about 140, and the high was in the 200% level. So, uh, pretty crazy. I'm just gonna throw this up there too. Percent of volume shorted on Friday was 35. So, basically, what that means is, uh, do they have that information here on Ortex? I didn't even notice that. I haven't even seen that on there. I gotta honestly, guys, I gotta spend some time. I got like this Weeble, I'm brand new to. The Ortex, I'm brand new to. And I mean, the numbers and what they're reporting out isn't necessarily new to me. It's just how to navigate through all this stuff. But basically, that volume shorted means that of all the volume that came in on the day, which was for CLOV, here I'll pull this back. 50 million in volume, 36% of that was shorts trying to hammer the stock down. So um, that's pretty significant, especially when you think about the size of the float. But I think what a lot of what they're doing too is they hammer it down early and then they come back and cover for a small profit later in the day. And they just kind of play that game. And that's how they're able to suppress the price and, make their long term short positions stay profitable or continue to try to get them profitable. So far today, I mean, shit, the market hasn't even opened yet. But what I'm looking here in terms of this net, if you're new to the stream, is right now today, 114,000 shares have been borrowed, 408 or been returned, 489,000 have been borrowed. There's a difference there of 375,000. So you can kind of monitor throughout the day how many shares are still going out. And that's kind of how we can tell if people are actually starting to cover when we do start seeing some upward price action. But like I talked about before too, in terms of a squeeze, when things are squeezing, not only are we going to look at that and see what the net return is and see if a bunch of shares are getting returned, we're also going to look for volume to start drying up, and that's when we'll kind of know that maybe the end is near. All right, let me get to the chat. I haven't looked at any of the chat. And if I forgot anything that I usually go over, um, call me out on it, and I'll see what's up. Anybody who's new to the stream, hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely subscribe, and you'll get notified whenever I go live or whenever I put out videos. I haven't been doing too many videos besides the stream right now, just because there hasn't. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of new information, but I'm probably gonna start doing a little bit more of them because I feel like it expands the reach a little. Like doing a 2 hour video like this. A lot of people won't go back and watch, but to recap stuff, later on in the day, even though you guys that are here with me right now may not go watch it, maybe some other people will. And I think it's important to kind of draw in new people into this CLOV movement, and kind of get those numbers up. Why is I know I talked about it on Friday. There's 3 other YouTubes that I know of that are also covering CLOV. Tarheel Blue, who's going to be on here with us in a little bit, come in here and talk stocks with us. And then Dutch Trades, he's probably got the biggest following right now. And then Sean Stocks. So if you haven't already, if you are on this channel because you're following CLOV, I know some of you guys might be following Gamestop, BNGO, AVXL, some of the other ones. But if you are following CLOV, go on there and support those guys. Give them a follow. And that way, because what happens is the more people the more followers you have, the more likes you have on your videos. I think the algorithms at YouTube make your videos pop up more, and so that's also going to help, right? The more go subscribe to everybody. Let's build this up. Good morning. What are your thoughts on space? If you had any time to look into it, man, I wish I could open a position. I did. I was even reading about it even the other day, over the weekend a little bit, and I think the stock's ready to, not ready to, it's already moving, but I think it's got a lot more room for growth. Like for me, um, I don't want to chase into it, and I'm kind of already big in some other plays, but I mean, as you can see, Friday had another monstrous day. I think they got that approval on Friday, but I think they have like 3 more test launches coming up. And as these test launches, every time that they're successful, I think you're going to see this type of movement in the stock, and it's going to just continue to rise. I believe we're almost at the all-time high. Yeah. So at some point, you may see some resistance here at like the 62.80 mark. Um, just because that's the highest it's ever been. But once it breaks through that, if the catalysts continue to come in and be positive, I think you're going to see this thing, just continue to roll. Now, um, on the flip side, which is very high probability, and I only know this from when I was invested in them before, is sometimes in here they might do a test flight and you end up with a crash or something like that. I mean, they're testing out retail space travel, so nothing's really guaranteed. But I think at some point in there, if one of those catalysts go negative, then you'll see like some massive drops in the stock too. So just something to be aware of. But I really think this thing has the potential to probably run upwards of $100 right now. Just with they have 3 catalysts lined up here shortly, and all of those are going to lead up to them ending up doing retail space travel. So, I mean, when that happens, this stock I think is going to go absolutely insane. But right now, I don't have any position in it. But it is something that I'm following. Um, so GameStop, maybe. It's always hard to tell what's going to happen by looking at pre-market. Good morning. Let's go CLOV. Happy Monday. Good morning. I know this is old, the ding, 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 but I think that had to do with the Russel inclusion. I saw that pop up at the time. And how not being in the Russell, the reasons for it were positive for the squeeze. Yeah, we talked for a while. We talked last night. We were testing out the live stream capabilities. I know you're talking about Tarheel. We were testing out the live stream stuff and me bringing on a guest and all that kind of stuff. And so, and then we ended up sitting there talking. I remember I told my wife, because we were getting ready to put the kids to bed, I was like, hey, I'm going to go test this out. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And then I ended up, it was almost like 45 minutes later or an hour later or something. So, let's see here. All right, so you guys can see the chat. I saw that. Cool. Good morning. I'm focused on CLOV, but also interested in Workhorse. Do you have any input on that one? I haven't had time to look into that one yet. And I know I've been talking about it for a couple weeks that I was going to try to do some more research into it. I've been extremely busy. Like I was traveling last week, and then we ended up going camping on Friday, and so I was gone all weekend. But I'm gonna start. I got this week's pretty clear, so I need to start making some more update videos on some of my other plays. I want to start doing some other research into some of these other stocks, and I even have them all written down, like all the ones that people have been calling out in the chat. And, some of them it might be too late, at least for me. I know you guys are already in them, but one thing that I've just learned over the years is just not to chase a stock, right? Like even with space right now, as much as I want to get in there, it's continuing to just absolutely roll, and I'd probably wait for it to cool off before I jump in on an entry on anything new, because sometimes when you jump in high on something, as it's moving up, that's when you get burned. That's when you end up holding the bag, and there's always going to be other plays. So that's just the way that I kind of look at it. I try not to FOMO into things. I give you, I think when we were talking about, I'll just go back to this one more time. Like even with AVXL, that wasn't really one of my plays. That was a buddy of mine. And that day when it was bouncing up, it was sitting way up here at 22 when I signed off the stream. And I'm like, I don't want to chase into this. I don't want to, I don't want to run in. And then but then later on in the day, I saw it came back down to 1850. And that's when I opened up my position in it. and then I thought I was going to be a bag holder when it came back down to 16. But I guess the point is, don't FOMO into stuff. You know, wait for the entry point that you think is good for you, because more often than not, you will see stocks pull back after big run-ups. You know, I know I'm not talking about workhorse anymore, like, but my point was I haven't gotten into it yet. But even like with this big run-up on why did it pull up? I wanted to go ahead and close. We're getting near market open too, so I'm gonna try to make this quick. But even like with CLOV, we hit all the way up here at 28, and I know there's some people who bought in up here, and I think that you'll be fine. I think we're coming back to get you, but these after big run-ups, that pullback that you see, it's usually going to happen, and it's also healthy for the stock because it'll help build a new base and everything else. But I guess what I'm saying is you should almost kind of anticipate those pullbacks, and sometimes they don't happen and you miss out. But I think that's better than getting into something and then getting being a part of that huge fall down, especially if you're buying on margin. But and I bought back into, not back in. I held my position here. I added on here thinking that was the end of the dip, and we ended up getting way back down. But I think we're going to be fine. I think we're ready for some upward movement. Good morning. Nice to see you back in here. Thanks for the support. Let's see here. The clover leaves. The more apes we can get to join the movement. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said go support the other YouTubers too. Let's get more people, because that's just going to add, it's going to make their videos, higher on the algorithm. Go hit like on them. Go hit subscribe on their videos too. And that way it'll get more people maybe that are searching up other stocks, and then they come across some of those videos, and, maybe we get more people to join in. Up and coming catalyst for the CLOV stock. I think we talked about, or not, we didn't talk about. I was just reading. Somebody put out a good article. I think it was called All In 2.0, and he kind of summarized a lot of that on the CLOV subreddit. Was it Fresh Prince of Wall Street Bets? And he also did a video with Dutch Trades yesterday too, kind of going over that stuff. For me, I think that obviously, if we ever get any sort of news about the SEC investigation or DOJ investigation, it's already been priced in. So for them to come in and either just announce the results, and maybe it's a small fine, or to announce that they found nothing, because those investigations have already been priced in, I think regardless, the results of that is going to continue to move this stock further up. I think that depending on like the Green Oaks thing, and if that short interest is actually changed, the percentage, that's going to get a lot of retail momentum and buying power coming in if we see that. And I think as CLOV continues to expand, right? Like we just saw that expansion the other day where they doubled the amount of counties they were working in. That could also serve as potential catalysts. And I'm tired, so I'm probably forgetting some of the ones that I even read on his. Let me finish this coffee, and I'm sure it'll come to me. Greetings from the UK. That's dope, for real. I'm to have someone in a different. That's just mind-boggling to me, because I'm not. Like I said before, I wasn't even interested in doing this at first, but then I ended up having fun, and now I'm live streaming, and to have someone in another country watching. That's amazing. Thank you for joining. I appreciate the support. Anyone else who's new in here, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll get notified as we make new videos. And also in 15 minutes, Tarheel Blue, another guy who's been doing a lot of great videos on CLOV on YouTube, is going to come on and join me, and we're going to kind of just talk about it. He'll answer questions too. We both will, and we'll see how it goes. I'm thinking it's going to be fun, and we'll maybe make it more of a, once a week, once a month, whatever he can do. But I'm expecting this is going to be a good time. Looks like the Bulls might win today. I agree. It seems like everything's kind of up. We just hit the opening bell. Let's see what happens as we are. I'm going to go around and kind of So AVXL, if you joined late, actually gapped up 18%. It's sitting at 29.48. It did hit a high of 32 in pre-market, 32.37. Um, Damn, my calls aren't even doing that great. I thought they would have been up way more. Huh. All right, whatever. Let's see. BNGO also opening up ahead, up 745. It's at 808. I would love to see it hold above $8. No real announcements that I saw from BNGO other than oh, we're getting some action too. Gamestop's moving. All right. CLOV's moving. I'm just looking around. AMC up 2%. CLOV up 1 right now. GameStop only up 2. BlackBerry. I haven't talked about BlackBerry in a while. I don't have a position in it, but I know some people on here do. Looks like they're opening up flat, like about zero, right across the board. $12.12. Yeah, I think that's it. The S&P 500 opening up pretty flat, 427 where we're at. So see how it goes. Man, I don't want to sell my. I have these calls on AVXL that I bought, and after this big run right now, I'm thinking I should just kind of exit, looking for that pullback. But I'm gonna give it about 5 or 10 minutes because it looks like the price on these calls is ridiculous. I would have expected IV to go up too. Um, when do we get to meet the fam? You talking about my family? I do have 2 sons and well, obviously a wife. So my wife and 2 sons. Maybe at some point, I'm sure well, just because it's summer break, I'm sure at some point my kids are gonna run in here and end up being in the background during the stream. Um, Hopefully the big guys have completed their position and are ready to throw their weight around. Oh, okay. I give it like maybe like some whales coming in and getting some buying. That would be nice. Good morning. AMC ripping now. Let me see. Looks like maybe that might have. Yeah, it looked like it was going up and now it's back down. I mean, it's up on the day, but I'm looking at a red candle right now. Hope you had a great time camping. Looking for a good resource to new potential positions. I know Wall Street bets. Really trusting that sub. Currently, any ideas or favorites? Um, in terms of besides CLOV, I mean, I think CLOV's at an absolutely amazing entry point right now, and it has the squeeze potential going for it. BNGO is a stock that I think is going to get up and test $15 soon. Um, and that's one that I've been building a position in for a while. Not as big of a position as Clover GameStop, but it's trading at $8 right now. So, and it's it was just at 9 recently. I think it's consolidating and it's ready to make another run. So I think, BNGO's at a decent entry point right now, trading at $8. AVXL, I mean, everything I've heard says that it's going to continue to go up, but I think it might be too late for an entry point. Maybe not. I mean, that's kind of like play at your own risk territory because it's up there at $30 now, and it may be consolidating and dropping back down, a little bit before moving again. I don't know, um, but I do think AVXL is going to, probably continue to run and blow past 35. Um, they do have a lot of basically what they're doing is coming up with cures for like Parkinson, Tourette's, dementia, and they've been having really great results with these drugs that they've been testing and putting out. So kind of with these pharmaceutical ones. Not so much BNGO, because BNGO, what they do is they sell a system that other universities and laboratories use. Um, but with AVXL, it's more about getting the FDA approvals, getting good tests, and as those tests come out and continue to get positive results, you see the stock go up. But as they fail tests, you could lose everything the next day. Um, Kind of exactly what I was just talking about with space. Space has some launches coming up, and if they continue to do good, space could be a good entry right now at 55 because the potential is although can go all the way up to 100 or higher. Like every time they announce good test results on their launches, I think you're going to see this stock continue to move upwards. But one bad launch and that you lose all those gains. And I'm not saying I don't have a position in space at all right now, but I'm just kind of comparing the two. BlackBerry's always flat. Yeah, I actually like BlackBerry as a company too. I think that they're going to do some big things. I don't like to be too spread too thin. Right now I'm really heavy in GameStop and CLOV, so I haven't really been opening any new positions. But to get even more back to what you asked, Chef Daddy, every time I do open up a new position, I make a video about it and kind of give my reasons why. So if you are subscribed to the channel, you'll always get notified when I do. Top of the morning to you, Coach. Been holding 360 shares since April 29th. Finally trying my hand at five $14 options for this Friday. Yeah, just know, with options this Friday. So I mean, they're expiring this week, right? Let's take a look at the option chain though. I haven't really looked. Looks like bid ask, open interest, delta. I'm just trying to remember how I set this up because this is only my second or third day using Webull. So we're looking at the July 2nd expiration. Open interest is for weeklies. On this stock, it's not bad. 9,000 at 15, 6,000 at 14. But yeah, I think if you get a run and you should be able to close out for a profit, maybe jump back in and buy some shares, or obviously do whatever you feel. But not a ton of open interest there. In terms of like options expiring this week, I would really look to close out on Wednesday. That's just kind of, and I say that, and sometimes I just let them ride too. But what's going to happen is if you're not in the money and you do get a nice spike, let's say today we jump up to like $14, it's going to be worth more money today, um, you know, and tomorrow and even Wednesday, if it's still out of the money, than it is if you try to hold that thing until Friday and then kind of get stuck with all the Friday shenanigans we've been seeing where they hammer the stock down. Now that being said, the stock could end up ripping on Friday, and then you're gonna be pissed that you sold them early. So um, I'm just trying to let you know what could happen and what seems like it always happens. If you're out of the money and you could sell for a nice profit by Wednesday on a weekly call, I think you probably should try to take that profit, or at least get out of some of them and let the other ones ride. So looking at open interest again, nothing huge, but July 16th was the big one that I had, 18,000 at 10, 11,000 at 11, and then it's starting to build up. You know, we're almost there at the 14, $15 strike at 17,000, the $20 strike has 24. So I think July 16th is going to be the next like huge gamma squeeze potential, but you never know. Like as the week progresses, by last Friday we had some double digits. At the 14 to 15 strike for CLOV, which would have um, potentially for that one could have pushed us into like maybe the $17 range just because it was so heavily concentrated in that little area. Um, let's see here. Do you think GME is a miss the bus situation? Is it too late to get in? Will it and AMC squeeze more than they already have? So I'm not in AMC, but I do have friends that are in it, and I think the speculation is that if the shorts haven't covered and with the naked shorting and everything like that, then I would say that AMC is absolutely still has the potential to squeeze. But I haven't read any of the DD on it or anything like that to really know. With GameStop, yeah, I think it's found a floor now around 200, and it was kind of like, what if you were on earlier, I was talking about what Tarheel Blue had been mentioning that all you're doing when you rise up and you level out is you're creating a new base, right? And so at this point, the new base for GameStop seems to be around 200. So if and when the squeeze kicks off, I think it's still got way more room to grow. Like let's say it goes 5 times or 10 times from where it's at right now. During a squeeze it could hit upwards of 1,000, 2,000. Um, you know, just off those multiples. But yeah, I don't think GameStop is anywhere near done with the squeeze potential, and I think that they're still heavily shorted, and even just the FTDs, failure to delivers from the options chain. I mean, there's millions of shares that are still out there that aren't even being counted as shorts because they're being hidden in these failure to delivers. So there's huge potential for growth there still, I think, and I think that the company itself with GameStop still has a lot of room to grow. Obviously, it's trading higher than fundamentals right now, but this is more of like a speculative growth play where it's they're pivoting their company into e-commerce, into technology. They've hired on the top executives from Chewy, Amazon, I think Google. They've been poaching all these top executives from all over, building kind of this dream team. And they haven't really announced what they're going to do yet, but I think, we're just going to kind of see it kind of unfold. They're already doing 1 day shipping on or same day shipping on their website. They've expanded their website to beyond more than gaming stuff. They got computers, speakers, all kinds of electronics. Um, they hired an executive for like cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, and there's some evidence that they created a token. Um, and there's also in their most recent prospectus, they made some mention of like NFTs and crypto technology. So um, really excited on where this company can go. Obviously, there's no way to really know, but I did a video months ago on just Ryan Cohen, and he's on he started Chewy, and he basically took Chewy all the way to he took Chewy, to have like a 30% of the pet industry's market cap, is what their company was valuated at. And I mean, if GameStop was to do that right now, where the gaming industry's, looks like it's going to go, and they have the name recognition, just that alone, if Ryan Cohen with these executives he brought in could eat up 10, 20% of the gaming industry's market cap, you're talking about a stock trading at $400, $500 a share, no squeeze, just. But again, that's a speculative play. Who knows what's going to actually happen. But I do think that this is a decent entry point because it kind of seems like 200 is the new floor. Um, not as great as CLOV in regards to. I think CLOV, is looking a lot better in terms of you could get into this stock and fundamentally it should be trading more. So entry point wise, for a squeeze play, I think AMC is or not AMC, CLOV is the play. It's got the best entry point, and it's got the most room to grow, and the company's growing right now. All right, I'm gonna try to. Sorry, I was reading my phone at the same time, and I was trying to while I was talking because I'm trying to get Tar Heel in here. Let me see. So if you are in here right now, um, oh, he is. He's calling. All right. I'm just not paying attention. All right, so I'm gonna get him on. For those of you guys that aren't aware, like maybe joined a little late. So Tarheel Blue is another YouTuber that's been covering CLOV as well, and we tested out the software, and we're gonna get him on here today to sit in here and talk stocks with us. So right now it says he's in the green room. How do I get him out of the green room? There we go. No. Okay, there
You
we go.
there?
Now he's up. All right, so guys, if you're not familiar, um, this is Tar Heel Blue. Like I said, he's been covering CLOV as well. Um, and I put his information down in the description box for this video. So if anyone wants to go on there, please go on there and subscribe to his channel. Help support him. He just hit 100. Congratulations! Just hit his over 100 on Friday, and we were just talking about it last night. And so
Thanks, man.
after that, it kind of just steamrolled. At least for me, I went from 100, and the next thing you know, it was like for the longest time, it was like, man, how long is it going to take to hit 100? And then I hit like 500, so it's crazy. But thank you for coming on. Let me see here. I'm just going to take a look at
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me. I think we're lagging a little bit, but yeah, it's always good. I know you and I were talking a little bit last night. It's always good. I think we share the same philosophies of just trying to grow this community, and it's going to help everybody out. So
I got lost on the chat real quick. I'm trying to get back to where I was.
yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right. So real quick before we start talking, I'll just go around because I know some people are listening and not watching. So AMC is now on the upswing, up 6%, sitting at 57.37. BNGO up 4% on the day. It lost $8. It's at $7.80. AVXL is now only up 13% on the day, trading at 28. So at that point, I'm not selling. I'm gonna see what happens. I was
So
thinking
you
about
so,
gold would have ended up being worth more. S&P 500 looks to be trading downwards now. Three straight red candles, but only down 0.09. So we'll see how that plays out. Gamestop and CLOV look like they want to move right now. All right, so you know what? Let me go through the comments real quick, and then we'll just so we catch up, and then we'll just
yeah, let's do it.
start wrapping. So we'll definitely put profits back into shares if everything works out. AVXL, yeah. So if you joined late, AVXL, and they had some great news. Gapped up, hit about 32. Looks like it's trading downwards at like 28 right now. But yeah, they had another nice run this morning, and I think there's some more information that's going to be coming out on them on Wednesday. So I follow you on both. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. AMC's going to break one way or the other soon. Yeah, I agree. I think so. And it may be back up. And Tarheel is actually he's way more knowledgeable on AMC too. So maybe we could even talk about that in a little bit. Talk about 8 up candles, AMC 57. Let's rip some shots. He must be talking to you.
No, man.
Take some
I, I,
shots.
y'all are killing me, man. I saw Scotty was saying I was pounding some vodkas. I don't drink that often, but that's why I couldn't hold my liquor the other night.
Man, I was
But
saying, I know I mentioned it on Friday, but I went on. So Tarheel did this one called Stocktail Hour. Stocktail Hour, right?
yeah, something like this. Yeah,
Cocktails.
happy. Yeah.
He started drinking. Oh, so I was like getting ready for camping. I'm cleaning up in my garage, and I started. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll start drinking. I think everybody that was watching started having drinks. Man, I got a buzz going, and he was going
You know what?
3 hours in. Went back, checked on them. They were having fun.
What's funny, man? I was like, man, I think I just have hit like 122 subscribers, and we had like 15 people in the chat. I was like, I don't even know what's gonna happen if we ever get like thousands of people in the chat. I'll be doing like keg stands or something. But
yeah,
we had a good time.
we'll set up a tripod.
Yeah,
Get
let's do it.
the shot on the keg. I just had to find maybe hold on. All right, let's see. CLOV, a lot of buying pressure today. Absolutely. One night this week we get it going. Stocktails. Yeah, that was the name of the show. It was Stocktails.
That's what it was.
Did it on Thursday night. Last Thursday. Are you gonna do that every week?
Well, that was my plan until I got hung over for 2 days. I don't know if I can do that every week, man.
Yeah. mean, I thought it was cool too, just because it's like, yeah, you're having drinks. It wasn't all about stocks, but we were just,
Yeah,
but he was kind of enjoying. But then, some of the questions were stock related, and I know you were like, at one point, you were like, no more technical analysis for two. Once you got too many drinks in, but
I can't.
I thought it
I
was
can't.
cool to unwind.
Yeah, it was fun. The funny thing I've learned from going so hard into these stocks is like I don't have anything in common with anybody anymore because like nobody wants to hear about like Q1 revenue earnings of Clover. None of my friends do, at least. So it's like it's nice to hang out with people, even though it's people that live in my computer. We're still having a good time.
Yep. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
So
I feel the same way, and I
yep,
talked about it a little bit last night, and I've even mentioned it on here. But that's one of the reasons that I made the YouTube channel, because I felt like I was always having the same conversations with my friends, because I do have a lot of friends that are in stocks, and then we have like different group chats, and I'm texting on. But now there's like three different group chats, and but then you run into other people somewhere else, and then they ask, "Oh, how you doing in the markets?" And you start telling them, and it's like I felt like I was constantly repeating myself, and sometimes missing things and leaving things out.
yep,
Sometimes, or then not telling people, because it's like, hey, next time you find another play, let me know. And then you forget to tell someone. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just
right,
channel, and if you really care, you'll follow it, and then you'll see. And that's how this whole thing.
yeah. Well, that was a good. That was a good call on AVXL.
That's my buddy Colin. He at
Hmm.
some point he's gonna get on here with us. I want to get him on like this, like have him come on, and he could talk to us,
Right.
educate us all on it, because he's really big on the pharmaceuticals and stuff. I was just playing the momentum. Like, I know he had been talking about it. He's got a huge position in it. And then I saw it ripping that day, and I'm like, so I text him. I'm like, hey man, is this thing gonna go higher, or what's your price target on this? And he said, his long term hold price target's up in the hundreds. So um,
Oh
that
man.
that pullback and jumped in. But I just bought, like I said, a very tiny position. I have a couple July 16th expirations. So
I don't
I'm
know.
money. They're already in the money, but you know, riding.
Pharmaceutical companies have just scared me always. I got caught in Dendrion a long time ago. DNDN. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It was a cancer drug, and they were charging like $100,000 per dose, and short sellers just took it into BK, and everybody lost. So I just ever since that, pharmaceutical companies, it just takes one bad test, and it could go all to piss.
Yep, that's
So
there has been. I've been burned on some in the past too.
yep,
But then if like for instance, let's just say with this AVXL, if all of a sudden they came out with like a curative for dementia or something like that, or like some positive treatment that eventually would
yeah,
have. I mean, you could see a stock like that, going from $27 to probably $500 or something. But that's a big if, right? It's
right,
definitely a gamble with these pharmaceuticals. And I don't usually play them that much either. But like I said, he turned me on to BNGO the first time around. And I think BNGO now once I got into it, I learned a lot. It's the same thing that happened to me with CLOV. CLOV was
right,
down because of the options chain. I saw the potential for a gamma squeeze, but then I learned about the company as I was covering it, and kind of fell in love with it for the long term potential. Fundamentally, and that's what kind of happened to me with BNGO back in December. Just continuing to read about it and what they're doing, and even though it's in that kind of pharmaceutical industry. Um, but they don't actually make drugs per se. I don't think they're more. It's their system that they have and that they market out to other people. But it's still in that industry where you get bad test results, or you lose a contract or something like that, and then the whole thing
yep.
gets wiped out.
We'll keep we'll keep passing along the good stock tips.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna jump into any, but because I'm so deep into Clove right now, but
Now, are you 100% Clove?
100%.
Okay. Right on. Right.
Yep.
And I know you. I've heard you mention it on your channel and everything else, and so you were really big with AMC, um, and I was kind of really big with GameStop, and I still have my position in GameStop, but it's kind of crazy because we were both on different even though they're the same, there's different due diligence going in. They're two separate communities and all that. So, um,
Yeah.
now what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a great perspective to have those two because those are the two. If we can learn from those
Hmm.
and kind of apply them to Clove, I think we can go a long way. It's funny. The main thing I've noticed right now, I wanted to ask you what you thought about. We obviously saw short interest go way down over the last couple of days with Clove, and I just saw a report from S3 that says the short interest is actually of the free flow is actually 49% according to them, and I think Ortex is showing like in the low 30s. So I think Ortex has been compromised. And if you guys have seen any of my videos, I do not wear a tinfoil hat. Like I am the devil's advocate every time. I tend to follow the numbers. Like I don't think I spent like 4 hours yesterday looking at that S1 prospectus, and I do not think Green Oaks shares have been mislabeled. I mean, they're everywhere as Class B in there, but what I was gonna say is it's really funny because the reason why I missed the AMC squeeze was because their short interest right before wasn't crazy, but their cost to borrow went through the roof. It was like 100 or 200%, and then their short interest actually went down. So I was like, all right, something funky is going on with this. And then their cost to borrow went down to like 5-6%, and then they just took off. And I think we're seeing the same kind of. You don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, it's following the exact same trend as AMC was right before it squoze. And then there's just it seems like there's a lot of shady stuff going on with the short interest. And I know GameStop, a lot of the same things were going on as well right before the squeeze.
No, I agree with you 100% in terms of like the way because I think I've mentioned this before. Like GameStop was reported at 140, but even at the time, someone else was reporting it at 200.
Hmm.
Getting mixture of numbers.
Right.
But the reason for the difference in numbers, though, too, at least my understanding is you have like
T2.
Ortex tracks certain brokers, right? Uh,
Hmm.
iBorrowdesk tracks, I think only one broker.
Yeah, interactive brokers.
Yeah. And then, S3 only has access to certain brokers. So you're getting kind of and what they're doing is saying, okay, based off these brokers and the amount of shares that they have available,
Right.
to loan, now let's, use some math and multiply, got an equation to kind of get an idea of what the whole float would look like. So, I think that's why
Right.
difference in numbers, but I do also agree with you too in that I do think that some of these places do get compromised. I mean, without getting the tinfoil hat going too much, but I do think that happens because you know the way that they reported their short interest, they changed the whole formula and they were giving out different numbers. And I think what happened is they realized that retail, how strong retail is. Like at the time with Wall Street Bets
Yep.
back in January, and it's like, well, now if we report these numbers out and we're giving our honest assessment that this is 80% short or 90%
Right.
whatever. Now you're going to get all these retail people going in and basically blowing up these shorts. Um, and so I do think that maybe they try to conceal some of the data to a certain
Well,
degree.
well, all they have to do is not report something correctly, and that can't be that hard. I read a GameStop article that said they were just creating synthetic longs and then labeling those as return shares to make it look like they were doing that. Now, I don't know how they would create the synthetic longs, but I'm sure it can't be that difficult.
No, it's
And
really not. Actually, I've never done it because but they have a so like on my Thinkorswim, my TD Ameritrade,
mhm,
actually go in there and you could do a married put, do this, do that. One of them is a synthetic, and you can create a
really,
synthetic position, through your options on your like on on your app. So
I didn't even know that.
yeah, it's not on the that's through TD Ameritrade, but
Yeah, so if we can do that, how hard is it for them to do it?
yeah, um, so I don't know, and then that whole thing
But
reporting, like they need to report. So why is it that a broker has to report how many calls. Not a broker, one of these hedge funds or whatever. They have to report how many calls they have on the books, how many puts they have on the books,
Right.
shares they have long, but then their short positions they only report like what every 15 days or something. It
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. Nasdaq comes out twice a month,
yeah
and maybe that'll change over time based upon what we've been pushing for. But still, are they going to report that accurately? Probably not.
yeah
But my problem with that Ortex data is, that's T plus two, right? So for those who don't know, for those of you guys who don't know, when you cover a short position, you have to let the fund settle for 2 days, right? And then you can return the shares. So when we were seeing short interest go way, way, way down last week, I think it was like Wednesday. And if you take a look back at Monday, I mean, we were getting obliterated. So you're telling me like 15 million shares got returned? I don't think so. Doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. No, it doesn't. And then then there's that whole. So anyone who hasn't read did you read that article by Lucy Commissar or something? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll just call her Lucy K.
it works.
Uh, I butchering people's names. As a teacher, you're going through the roll sheet and you're pretty good at it. But so, anyways, in her article, she even talks about that kind of stuff, and she talked about and she got most of that information from the Super Stomp DD, but she talks about the dark pool and how that's used. We're basically they could buy the shares, they can cover their positions through the dark pool, and it's not
Right.
affecting the price action throughout the day.
Yeah, and everybody thinks SSR is, so important, right? And so SSR, again, for those of you who don't know, it means that when they short a stock, they have to actually short it on the uptick. So it's designed to prevent flash crashes. But through the dark pool, I mean, they can do block trades at any price, and then that gets flooded into the market. SSR is not going to do anything.
Yep. Uh, Somebody noticed that way back, because SSR used to be the big hype day, and it was like
Right.
nothing would happen, and you're not supposed to see this downward pressure. But what they were doing there was, I think, buying deep in the money options. Right. That was another technique that
Mm-hmm.
they were buying options deep in the money that already had a 1.0 delta. So now when you buy those options, you're not moving the stock price at all. They're already assumed to be covered, right? So now you buy them
Right.
in shares, and you could just sell them right into the market. So you're not shorting, you're selling, and that was creating down
Yeah.
on SSR days. So I mean, there's just so many manipulation tactics and things that they have kind of up their sleeve. But
Yeah.
what they're doing is, if they can't push the price down enough to make people sell, as long as everybody holds on to their positions, all they're doing is kicking the can down further and digging themselves into a bigger hole, right? Because at some point, all that downward pressure that they're creating is fake. They're buying shares and selling them down, but if we're just holding on to our shares, eventually it costs us nothing to hold, and eventually
Right.
it's too expensive for them to short it. So they're just prolonging the inevitable at this point. That's the way I.
I, I couldn't agree more, and I know I was getting my coffee and I was listening to you beforehand, and I know you were talking about a lot of that and just establishing higher support levels. If we create higher support levels, it's going to be a lot harder for them to push through that. If everybody's just buying and holding, it's you know game over. And I was watching this video. I'll send it to you. It was this guy from like the late '90s trading OTC, and he was talking. He was saying like, I was the guy building the candles. I didn't trade the candles. I was building the candles. And he was talking about, I mean, it's just, if you've ever questioned whether or not the markets are manipulated, go listen to this guy talk for an hour and you will never question it again. I mean, they do whatever they want. They call the brokerages up and just, make huge trades, and the market makers are controlling everything. But so it got me thinking. I was like, well, if the market makers are controlling everything, is there a way to bust up the market makers? And I did a lot of research on it yesterday, and I think you probably have a little bit more experience than I do in this, but Um, what I've seen, the way to bust the market maker, because they're in the middle of the trade, and if they have to, when they have to take on a huge trade, they need to get rid of that. So if they have like a bunch of huge institutions and whales come in that push up the price, then they can't get rid of their shares. And I think that's when a squeeze is pretty likely to happen.
Yeah, because they want to stay. They'd like to stay neutral, right? I mean, that's my
Mm-hmm.
understanding. Is a market maker doesn't want to be too heavy on one side or the other. Their whole position is to be. I'll
Right,
compare it to a casino, but you know, if you're playing roulette, the casino wants just as much money on red as they have on black. You know,
right,
if they're taking bets on a sporting event, they want just as many people to bet on the favorite as they bet on the underdog because they just want to
right,
make that, and that's where the market maker's perspective is. Um, but the other kind of messed up thing about just the way this market, like Citadel for example, they're a market maker, but at the same time, there's also a Citadel hedge fund, and they're
right.
person. But when they went into those congressional hearings, it's like, well, yeah, we do own the hedge fund too, but we don't communicate with each other.
Yeah, right.
Bullshit. And market makers have the ability to create naked shares and naked shorts, and
Right,
to create liquidity, and they're given all this free reign to
right.
basically make the markets work.
Well,
Uh,
what's the point then? I mean, what they're doing is they're paying for high frequency data, so
mhm.
they can give it to their arm of their hedge fund arm. That's the whole point. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why market makers exist. I just think they're given too much free reign, and I think a lot
Yeah,
is because people don't understand it. And by people, I mean like even the
right,
politicians that pass the laws, right? I mean, you come in and you throw a 200-page report at them, they're not going to read.
right.
And then when you talk, you start using confusing words and shit, and then it's like they're just like, okay, yeah, that sounds good, and they're just going to approve it. At least that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, congressmen and senators, they don't all have a finance background. I mean, you and I technically could go run for Senate tomorrow, and I wouldn't know what was going on.
Yeah, and I agree.
But I just think, understanding how the market makers work and understanding how they get busted up and they lose money is just it's imperative to understand that in order to squeeze a stock. Again, just higher support levels, and then I mean, so with AMC, I like to yeah, it's like a nightmare replaying that in my head, but I saw Nigerian on CNBC. He's the guy that he says follow the smart money, and at the time AMC was doing like somewhere between like 800 million and 1.2 billion in volume, and I think AMC was trading like low 20s at the time. And he said, "All right, well, you can't argue with the volume. It's time to jump in." And I know everybody else who's following the smart money is doing the same thing. All these big time investors, whales, institutions. And sure enough, they followed the volume, they followed the smart money, and I know they put huge orders in, probably dark pool and otherwise. And I think they busted up the market makers, and the market makers got caught, and that's why we see a healthy base around 50 to 60 now at the AMC.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right too, and those big orders, what they end up doing is they push the stock price to an uncontrollable level, right? And then that's where like to kind of get into like the whole gamma squeeze thing and how that helps. Because if you can catch them off guard and you could get them past that, which I think
Right.
happened with CLOV a couple Tuesdays ago, is like all of a sudden that volume was so much that it
Yep.
pushed us past 15, 16, 17, and now all of a sudden the options chain takes over too, and you have the retail or the buying power and everything, and then they just lose control.
Right.
Shot up to 28, and at that point, what did we close that week at? They were able
Oh
to,
man.
but at that point, so many options go in the money. Now, if you can hold that level, I mean
Right.
that's where GameStop, when I was talking about FTDs, some of those original squeezes that or run ups that it had. once you kind of blew out the option chain and were able to hold that on a Friday, now
Hmm.
market makers on the hook to cover all of these contracts, and there's not even enough shares in existence to do it, right? So now,
So I'm glad you brought that up, and I would love to know your thoughts on this. But the more I've learned about this stuff, I've read some statistics, and they say anywhere from like 7 to 10% of options, only that small amount are actually even exercised. So the shares that they actually have to be on the hook for, and so my like common sense, radar goes off and says, all right, it's more important to buy those out the money calls and force, and then try to squeeze the stock first before you gamma squeeze and try to get those market makers to delta hedge and purchase shares. So like it's not as important to actually land in the money. What do you think about that?
early on, yeah, but so like as you get close to, so I guess as you get closer to expiration, what happens is like let's just look at I'll pull this chain up real quick. Um, like right now, I think the $20 strike was a. I'm looking at. Why do I have GameStop up?
And while you're looking at that too, I saw somebody post on Reddit today. They said, "Man, the $13 calls for this week are like 30 cents. Or last week was like 30 to 40 cents. This week it's like $1.70 or something." What do you think about that too?
So that has to do with the IV, and I'll explain that in a second too. How that works. But you see how um, the delta right now, let's say on this $15 call is 0.31. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so let's just call this 10,000, right? So that's 1 million shares. If it was 10,000, 0.31, that would assume that what 300,
300,000.
yeah, 300,000 shares are already hedged. Uh,
Yep.
but the closer we get to Friday and we're not at $15, this delta is going to decrease, and now
Right.
they get to shed those shares and sell them back, which will create downwards. So buying
Mm-hmm.
calls. I think if you get like a decent delta on something, but I wouldn't, weeklies in terms of that. Like, let's say you went out to July, it still has a high delta. It's actually higher because it's giving us more time to get in the money. So I would say, yeah, like let's say even the $18 strike or somewhere in there has a point 0.3 delta and you're getting it for 75 cents. So $75 is basically putting 30 shares of buying power into the market. Does that answer your question? Like in terms of helping to create that buying power? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking, it's always been my summation that in order to actually cause a gamma squeeze, it's more important to have like huge open interests out the money instead. It's more important than actually landing in the money where only 7 to 10% of the shares are actually being purchased.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as far as IV goes, yeah, I've always listened to like Wrench Capital, and that guy is always talking about low IV is going to attract huge investors and institutions, and I think we definitely need to keep an eye on IV too, because when that stays low, that's when big money's coming our way.
So I think, and I'm just pulling up my phone just so I could check it because I don't know how to get the IV up on Webull right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't either. If you find out, let me know.
I haven't figured that out, so I'm just pulling up my Thinkorswim app real quick. But Clove's IV right now is at 152, so it is actually dropping a little bit. And what I kind of noticed or learned with GameStop, actually, real quick, I want to go. I'll just so because I know some people are just listening. So Clove right now is trading downwards. We're trading at 1289. Um, so, I mean, we're not even down 1% on the day, but it is kind of going down. GameStop up 4%, trading at 218. BNGO up 5.5% at 790. AVXL up 15% at 2869. Some of you guys in AMC almost 4.5%, trading at 5635. All right, I just wanted to throw that out there because I know we hadn't I hadn't talked about it in a while.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
where were we at? Options. Now I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
low IV.
Oh, IV. Yeah. So with GameStop, um, let me pull up this chart. Someone made a good post a while back that I think like kind of what the with what I think the whales are doing is, and I can't figure this out on Webull too. You see how half my chart's gone? Uh,
Yeah.
I have to like drag it up and down. I don't know why it doesn't just auto zoom into it. But
Oh,
it's like they even the longs would force it to trade sideways so that they can, because the longer the stock trades sideways, the less volatile it is, the cheaper the options become. Now they can come in and load up on
right.
options, create another squeeze. So uh,
Yep.
that's kind of been, I think what the I think before every gamma squeeze with GameStop, you would see a cool off period of maybe like, like we saw this big run up to 350 a couple weeks ago, and then a drop, and now
Yep.
trading for a while. The longer it trades sideways, the lower the IV becomes, and now you'll see big players come in and start swooping in, make
Right.
call sweeps, and really just and that's what's going to help with the gamma squeeze. Is you want to get, like you said, open interest. To me, needs to be in the double digits, like above 10,000.
Hmm.
All those out of the money strikes, because now when you
Yep.
pass that first strike, it's going to just continue to ramp up. Um,
Well, I mean, consolidation obviously, you know, favors the Bulls, and I don't know how much you paid attention to AMC, but I think AMC even more than GameStop. I mean, we consolidated for like 3 months, man, and I couldn't handle it. I was like, is this just going to trade sideways for the rest of my life?
talking
And on that note, I am looking at the chat, and somebody was asking. Looks like Matt was asking about. He said he's new to the CLOV gang, and I'll answer that question if I can. He was saying, can you talk more about your opinion of where it is currently and the promise of a squeeze? Well, I don't think anybody's promising a squeeze, but the reason we like Clover Health is because it's actually a good fundamental company. I mean, if you were going to trade GameStop, AMC, or Clover just on fundamentals, take the short squeeze equation out of it, I don't think anybody would, trade GameStop or AMC over Clover Health. Growing 3 times faster than the industry, taking 25% of market share everywhere. They're paying doctors more, they're saving patients more, and they're on track to be somebody like United Health hopefully one day. But where we are as far as a short squeeze goes, and I think we have a lot less float than AMC does, and most numbers are saying right now we're anywhere from like 35 to 50% of short interest of free float. So obviously, if that number goes up, and by my calculations, I did a huge DD last night. I put it on Reddit, and if I ever find time, I'll make a video with it. But I've got that maximum retail shares are only like 65 million on the high end and like 40 million on the low end. So we don't have the retail interest that like AMC does. It's probably more akin to GameStop. So all those things combined, I think we're up next.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more too. But I think we do need to get that retail interest up, like you're saying, right? I mean, if we
Yep.
can build the community and kind of get to that point where like AMC has, how many? Do you know what? Isn't it like in the millions the number of shareholders?
Yeah, so Adam Aaron came out right before the squeeze, like a week before the squeeze, and he's like, "Congratulations, everybody! We've got 3 million retail investors." So three
Yeah,
million people retail holding approximately 500 million shares. So if our if we're more akin to GameStop with 60 million retail shares, I mean, do the math. We got to hold. We only need like a half a million retail investors. Crazy.
yeah. Let's see here. You guys are making new like-minded friends here. Right on. Make sure, if you haven't, subscribe to me, and then go to the link in the channel and go to Tarheel Blue's channel, and make sure you guys subscribe to him too. Like the videos. We want to build up this community and get more people to get involved. Uh,
Yep.
see, sometimes meme stocks move in the same direction at the same time. Why? And what is the difference between when they do move together and when they move in different directions independently? Um, you want to start with that one, or you want me to?
Uh, I'll go quick with it. You tell me what you think. But obviously, a lot of the same, short sellers, hedge funds are targeting a lot of these ETFs and stocks, and that's on the one side of things. On the other side of things, retail usually acts about the same. It's the old if you're running a nightclub and you want to get people in the nightclub and you want to feel like make everybody feel like it's a popular nightclub. Well, if you open at 11, make a line. Everybody wants to stand in line, right? So retail is going to act the same, and everybody's just going to manipulate the market just to get retail involved in it at the same time. It's the same stocks. It's 5 or 10 stocks.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think actually I think that's why um, initially, from what I saw, GameStop started moving, and then Wall Street bets started hitting the mainstream. They started getting talked about on the news and stuff. And at the time, the hottest stocks on Wall Street bets were BlackBerry, Nokia, AMC, and GameStop. They were like the most talked about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't short squeeze plays. The other squeeze plays were, I think, BBBY, Naked, NAKD. There was other squeeze plays, but
Yeah.
AMC, BlackBerry, and Nokia just happened to be the other most popular stocks on Wall Street bets, and so you had millions of users flooding into this subreddit, and I think not even taking the time to read the DD and just like, oh, I'm going for the BlackBerry squeeze, oh, I'm going for the AMC squeeze, and just that's why you saw everything just
Yeah.
absolutely insane. But they were all different plays for different reasons. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I actually had a small position in all of them. GameStop was like my uh, the one that I was in on for the short squeeze. But I had some calls for AMC as a reopening play. I had some leaps on BlackBerry and leaps on Nokia. So when everything went wild on that Wednesday, um, I cut my positions in the rest, and I just held GameStop. So I made quite a bit off that.
Nice.
Just dumb luck, really. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'd
Be
rather be lucky than good any day. But I was in Bed Bath and Beyond. I thought that was going to be the next one, and that lasted about a week, and I actually started learning how these things work. So
yeah. To get also to this question in terms of like on the daily charts when you do see them like get hammered down at the same time. I know I've talked about on here before how like when the S&P 500 is a good indicator, when you start seeing downward momentum on that, sometimes all stocks will move with it, because it's like kind of the market in general is selling off. But I think you'll see the same thing to get back to your point if you have similar, like big time positions like shorters that are shorting both stocks, they might be shorting, all right, today we're going to throw this much more money into our short positions. And then, you see them moving in some of them kind of tanking together or, maybe they're unwinding their short positions at the same time. And so you're seeing them both go up. There was also some great DD was also mentioned in that Lucy K article about how some of these hedge funds created ETFs and put their short positions in there so that they could hammer the hell out of that.
right,
When shares available were low, on GameStop and AMC, they grouped them into these ETF baskets.
right,
We're just hammering that, and so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see like if CLOV was also sitting in those same baskets now. Uh, along with some of the other stocks, and so if someone's shorting the ETF that contains GameStop, BlackBerry, and Clove, maybe that's why on one day you'll see GameStop, BlackBerry, and Clove move. But also, I think volume and momentum sometimes will separate from the bunch, right? Like we saw days where almost all the meme stocks were moving together, but Clove was just that Tuesday. Clove was moving independently. I think that's where, to get back to Tarheel's point about catching the market makers off guard, when you get that kind of retail momentum, I don't think you're going to track. I don't care if the entire market's collapsing. If people are still buying into this stock, it's going to continue to go up. Um, let's see here. I'll just keep looking here. Low volume on Clove today. Yeah, what are we at today? 11 million? Yeah.
11.
I mean, and I always say this, that it's low in comparison to the last couple weeks, but 11 million is probably like an average, right? I think Clove was
Yep.
like a 9 to 10 million range on an average on the daily. Um,
Yep.
so we still have 11 million right now and still higher volume than like the stocks average. But yeah, we are down on volume. But low volume's good for a squeeze. It is, you know, um, kind of
Days to cover.
yeah, it stretches out that days to cover. So when people are actually getting forced to buy the stock back, it's going to make it harder to do it. It means people are holding the stock and not selling. Kind of the rule of thumb for trading. If you have high volume and you're moving up, that's good. High volume moving down, bad. But then when
Exactly.
low volume, it's kind of the same thing. Like if you have, or it's the opposite. Low volume with red days is absolutely good. That's more of a consolidation. Low volume green means maybe that the buying pressure is fizzling out. So I think we're looking pretty decent right now.
Yep. I mean, I think we have a new base around 13. At least it feels that way. So I'm okay with that. Hell, if I can hold it $11.15, I can hold it 13. And there's a lot of people saying the same thing. And I
Yeah,
think that's why we're going to see a base there. Unless the whole market's a dump, I think we're going to be fine.
yeah. There's been some speculation on that too. That at some point but I feel like you can find an article every month of the year,
Yeah,
no matter what year that
I
predicts
know.
the market's going to crash. But it seems like
Oh man, I saw the funniest meme. It was like predictions for the market 2017 bubble, 18 bubble, 19 bubble, and it was just like every year. But if if I'm actually like you know qualified to talk about anything, it's probably this because I am a licensed real estate broker in North and South Carolina, and those for those of you who don't know, the stock market is dictated by what the housing market does. It's not the other way around. The housing market controls the stock market. So I always look to housing first to say, okay, is there a bubble in the housing market? And if so, that could translate later into the stock market. And I won't go into it huge unless anybody really wants to get nerdy on real estate. But 30-year fixed interest rates are they've been below 3% for the last year and a half, and they just jumped up to 3.25, still all-time lows. Um, we're not in a bubble. Loans are good right now. They're heavily vetted. This is not 2008 all over again. If anything, COVID actually, I thought we were due for a correction, and COVID actually I think helped us, and we're going to see low interest rates for probably the next 4 or 5 years. So I don't see a bubble at all.
what's crazy. I'll just make this quick, and then I want to back to the chat because we've been
I know.
running it for a
Too
while.
much rapping.
My wife works in the real estate industry too, and
Mm,
she's been saying basically the same exact thing. She doesn't think that it's going to slow down anytime soon. Uh,
nope.
all right, so I'm going to try to pull these up. Ortex very well be compromised, but the dumb apes are hip to their lies. I'm also 100% clove, but is that smart? Should we have a little something in on GME or others just not to miss out? My opinion. I mean, I was 100% GME for a while, but it was a short while. I always like to have a little bit more, or a little bit in some other stuff just in case. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being 100% either. I think that Clove is definitely safe right now to be 100% in. So that's my take.
Well, what's GameStop sitting at right now?
216.
I mean, I love it at 216. I don't. I know. We were rapping about this a little last night, but investors, they they uh, they want to buy a cheap stock in comparison. Most of them. So I tend to say, okay, I think Clove, in my opinion, has a better chance of squeezing first. But it'd be fine to have positions in both. But people at the end of the day, they're going to be like, oh man, if I can get 100 shares at $13 or 2 shares of GameStop at 216, even if GameStop goes up 30%, they don't care. They don't see that. They just want to own more shares of something. So
Yeah, and I think that it's all relative too. Like one, the percentage gained, but you know, like you can't get fixated on dollar amounts, right? Because so
Right.
well, like if GameStop hits 1,000, which is 5 times its current base that it's kind of consolidating at,
Hmm.
that doesn't mean AMC is also going to hit 1,000 and like every short squeeze target from here on out is going to get to 1,000. A lot of more stuff goes into that, like what size the free float is, you know, and really that has a lot to do with it is the size of the float and obviously how much it's shorted. But that's perfect point though. It more has to do with the percentages, right? If you invest $1,000, no matter how many shares you get, um, you know, if one stock goes up 50%, the other one goes up 12% or 10%, you're going to make more off the 50% one, even if you only own one share that costs you
Right.
bucks. You know, that's just the way it is. But all right, let's see here. What's the bid and ask green and red charts on the left side under the picks? Okay, so this is level two data. It's basically showing what is the orders that are coming in on this stock. So basically, 600 share order at 12.92, 2,000. It's moving pretty fast, but these are all buys. So these are people lined up to buy. So you have, are we still clicked on Clove? You have a 30,000 share buy order in at $12.87. 13,000 to 12.88. So there's a lot of buying support sitting here in this 12.87. I mean, a ton. I haven't even looked at this really today. That's
And
all
I
1,000.
used to follow level twos. I used to follow level twos a lot, and I cannot seem to. They just appear fake to me. Like a lot of those walls will just crumble for no reason, and I mean you'll see like it wouldn't surprise me to see 100,000 sell orders right now at 14, and then just as you climb just disappear. Those aren't getting filled. They're just going away. I think they're trying to trick the algos.
Yeah, and I actually, there was a book I read about day trading, and it was talking about that too. Like having
Yeah.
data up is good, so you can kind of see where a wall might be. But
Hmm.
people will throw those orders up there, and just to scare people. So if you see this
Right.
huge order for 100,000 sell order on the right over here, to get back to your question, Danielle. So this is the sell order. But if you see 100,000 on this side, let's say at 13.15, and you're getting ready to buy, you might jump out or say, you know what, I'm going to wait and see if it actually passes through 13.15. So now you're scaring buyers away. And at the same time, psychologically on the other side, you might have longs that'll come in and throw in a huge buy order for 50,000 shares, and they really have no intention of actually placing that buy, but they're doing it to scare shorters away. No one's going to come short the stock if they know that in about 10 cents from now, there's enough support to blow out.
Right.
So, um, absolutely though, I'm not really. I just someone had asked to put it up on one of the earlier streams, and it actually there were some days where it was kind of showing us where some of the resistance levels were. But I like to keep it up. I don't look too much at.
Yeah. I like to I like to watch it to see how wide the spread is. How it's trending. If people are hitting the ask, people if the bid's getting hit. And on this note too, for level twos, I think it's important. Like, I'm of the mentality not ever to put a stop loss on anything, because everybody seems to put stop losses in the same place, and then where we think that support level is, they can see that on the level twos. They're gonna go right through our support. I was listening to this market maker. He was retired market maker, and he's like, man, he's like, if everybody thinks resistance or support rather is at $13, and I see a 500,000 buy orders at 12.85, he's like, I'm gonna go right through you to get to that.
Yep, and then that's going to trigger a stop loss that'll just crash the stock.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And then
Uh,
it'll push it right back up.
yeah. No, I agree. Uh, 50 people watching. Please plug Clove Reddit, Discord, and other YouTubers. So the Clove subreddit, I'll throw it in the chat. I'll add it into the comments of this too. But it's just r/Clove, and that community has really been growing. Um, I think it's over 30,000 now. And when I first got in there, I want to say it was definitely under 10. I don't know what the numbers were back in April, but it was, I mean, it's grown significantly and it's continuing to grow. If you want to, continue to track information on Clove, that's a good place for it. Um, Tara, if you can do you have the link to post in there for Discord? I think I have to do it, huh? Because it's my chat. I think it won't let anyone else post links. I'll go
Oh,
ahead.
really?
I'll go ahead and figure that out right now. If you wanna plug the other YouTubers while I look for this.
Yeah. So in my mind, I know there's a few out there. The main ones, the main guys I follow are obviously Coach B, and Dutch had a really good interview last night. I know he was interviewing Wall Street Bets Degenerate. I listened to a little bit of that. It was I had a really long day yesterday. I didn't listen to a ton of it, but I know he does a lot of live stream stuff and a lot of great videos. And then Sean Stocks, that guy's really seems young and seems really smart. And I've talked with him a little bit on the CLOV subreddit. So go follow those guys if you haven't. It's going to help us all out. One of the things I was trying to do for my channel is I always thought, like, I followed Trey and Matt. We were talking about this last night, but I always thought it would be cool if they used all their proceeds to dump right back into their stocks. Like, I would, if you and I ever get to, I'll be happy with whatever amount. I'll get drunk with 5 people on a live stream. I don't care. but but if we ever get to, like, 500,000 subscribers or God knows what, I will dump every penny that YouTube sends me right back into the stock to get this sucker to squeeze. So that's what I'm trying to do for my channel. I don't know if we can get the other boys to jump on board with that too, but I just want to see everybody make money, man.
That's funny because that's actually I had that conversation with my wife when we were driving home from camping. She's like,
Yeah.
"You ended up making money on YouTube. Like how much money?" I said, "I don't know." She goes, "Well, and I basically said the same thing. I was like, "Well, as soon as if I ever do, and as soon as I get that money, I'm just gonna put it back into the plays that are
Yeah.
talking
It's a
about."
lot in the financial space for YouTube. I mean, if you can get the subscribers and the whatever, the likes, I mean, they pay well.
Yeah, I mean, I have no clue. The other thing I was joking about, I don't even know how that would work. I was like, if it actually was making a decent amount of money and people were jumping on the stream and stuff, and I don't know how this works. I'm sure there's a way. Is there a way to like give out stocks?
For
Like
I don't know.
like how Webull has where when you sign up you get a free stock. But what if
Right.
like um if we hit this many subscribers, or give a share of Clove to, you know what I mean? Because I would even be down with that, like I mean that if it's money that's coming in on the YouTube channel for, you
Exactly.
know what I mean? But I don't know
Yeah,
how that.
it'd be a way to like crowdfund a squeeze, you know?
Yeah,
It'd be fun.
everybody gets a stock. Um,
You could be the Oprah of Clove,
you get a stock.
man.
What part does volume play in the squeeze?
Take it.
I mean, obviously, it's twofold for me, right? At least the way I think of it. You have a high volume day like that 700 million volume day. Um, Obviously, you're going to see a lot of movement, right? If it's going positive, more volumes can cause the stock to go higher. But also, when you have those heavy volume days, like a 700 million day, I mean, if there's really only 46 million shares short right now, or even if there was 100 million shares short on a 700 million volume day, shorts could easily sneak out during that upward price movement. But we need volume to get the price higher, create those higher bases. But I think volume drying up is also a good thing because when you get low volume days and it starts to dry up and everybody's bought their shares and everyone's holding them, now the only volume you're seeing is maybe some new people entering the market and buying up a little position, and shorting. And so it's now what ends up happening is if volume's so low that no one's selling, when the shorts do have to cover on a low volume day, you're going to see huge upward momentum. And that's my understanding of it. Is that kind of where you're at too, or
Yeah, I don't even think I would add anything to that. I mean, I think that's a perfect synopsis. Obviously, when you start to see a short squeeze, you're going to see ridiculous volume. But
Yeah,
yeah, these consolidation days are very important.
I'm just trying to catch up on this chat sometimes. Um, you GME guys make me sick. I missed it. I don't know if you missed it though. I think right now, at least me, I'm still getting in. I'm still holding. I've even been occasionally adding into some of my shares when it's been dipping down right to 200. Like my expectation is it's gonna touch 1,000 before I even consider selling, um, which is still
So you want to talk about GameStop for a minute? Because I read, I've done a little bit. I could definitely have a lot of questions on that NFT, and I got some thoughts on it as well. But I saw what Overstock did a couple years ago. That their CEO Byrne, I guess he was so disgusted with short sellers, he was trying to go that route. But basically, what ended up happening was, and I'll slow down for people that haven't, uh, you know, really dug into this like you have or I have. But basically, when a short seller is short, they have to, and the company issues a dividend, they actually have to pay a dividend to the owner of the share that they are borrowing. So what the theory is that, and if I'm explaining this wrong, please correct me, but the theory is that if GameStop or whoever comes out with an NFT token, then because you actually you cannot create an NFT token out of thin air, and you actually have to go purchase that from GameStop, then it's going to force them to exit their position because they can't provide that dividend that they're required to provide. My question is, well, number one, I don't want to be a GameStop hater. I hope it goes to a billion, but I do have questions like anybody does. But my question is, you know, why are they why would they be forced to cover if they can't provide that dividend that GameStop would require? Like if they say, oh, you have to provide an NFT, but there's no way to do it, it almost seems like the SEC would have something to say about that. And of course, like when the whole reason it actually didn't work for Overstock, yes, they did squeeze on the promise of that NFT, but it never actually came to fruition because the SEC just slapped it down like nothing. So that would be my second kind of question mark about whether that would even be possible or not.
yeah, that's that. Those are some good points. I mean, I know. So in regards, if it's an NFT, so first off, like GameStop hasn't said they're going to do this. This is all speculation. But there
Right.
is evidence of some sort of cryptocurrency or token or NFT on their website. I think it's nft.gamestop.com, or I'll go look it up in a second. But yeah, so if it is an NFT, the non fungible token, then basically it would force short sellers to just cover, because what would end up happening is, or at least naked short sellers, because what would end up happening is they're only going to issue that NFT for as many shares as should be in the free float. So let's just say 70 million of them. NFTs can't be duplicated, and they wouldn't be for purchase, somewhere else. So now there's going to be 70 million of these tokens out there, and if there happens to be 500 shares in existence, I'm going to call my broker like, hey, TD Ameritrade, where's my NFTs at? I
Right.
give me my NFTs, and now they're going to have to turn around to these people they lent the shares out to, like, hey, you got it covered. My client wants his NFTs. You know what I mean? So there's that side of it. If it's a token that's for purchase, it wouldn't really force them out because they can go purchase the token. But now it would be, like let's say a cryptocurrency. They could just transfer cash into whatever type of currency. Let's say it's the GameStop token or something,
Right.
and buy it. But it would be a
So
little,
so in theory, I mean, you literally could not have any short positions in a stock that was created, that dividend was created for. It would force all shorts out forever. I mean, do you really think the SEC would allow that?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, rule wise, from what I was looking at, you can give anything out as a dividend, right? So I mean, if you're a company and you say, hey, I'm gonna, you know, give
Right.
a PS5 controller who owns a share of the stock, and then
Right.
whatever it may be. It could be like anything. As if they say they're going to issue the dividend and they're willing to give it to all of their, you know, to their shareholders for every
Right.
ever. Right now, there is nothing. I can imagine though that the SEC would try to step in and prevent it. But then if you look at, I mean, what has the SEC really done in this whole thing so far? I mean, naked short selling's been around for a long time. There's all these other
Well,
tactics.
I'll quote Byrne, the former CEO of Overstock, and he said, it's been my experience that when the SEC steps in, really to protect the evil bastards, they're not going to help us out. So, and then my other question for you is, this may be a stupid question, but this is how my brain works. Let's say I borrow a share from somebody and I sell it short. Well, someone buys that share and creates a phantom share, right?
Yeah,
So does that person get a dividend? Does that person get a dividend too?
that's why it would create shorts to cover, right? So let's just say I'll try to use round numbers. There's 10 million shares or 100 million shares in the free float, right? So now the moment that you short one share and then I buy it, now there's 100, million and one. There's one extra share sitting out there. So if the company comes out and issues
Right,
100 million NFTs, yeah, there's one missing. They're not issuing 100. They're not issuing that extra one. So there's not going to be enough NFTs to go around, and that's how they're going to weed out the short positions. Like, you know,
right.
that's
Well, wouldn't there be two? Because the one I borrowed, right, and then I sell it to somebody, and now they own it. So not only the one I borrowed, I have to like pay the dividend to the person I borrowed it from, but now somebody's got to pay the dividend to the person that I sold it to, right? Aren't
yeah,
Shouldn't
yeah.
they be due a dividend as well?
Yeah, they everybody would be. So,
Yeah,
if let's say a stock is 100% shorted, and there was 100 million shares, now there'd be 200 million shares out on the market, right? The original 100 million, and then if someone borrowed those 100 million and sold them back in, now there'd be 200 million shares in the market. There'd be
right,
phantom shares, and so that's why this dividend kind of, even a cash dividend, a lot of times will force shorts out because it's like, who's going to
right,
everyone who owns that stock, there's no way right now of knowing if you have a phantom share or a legit share, right? So if a dividend gets issued, you want your dividend, you know
right,
um, and I think that's why the short seller needs to pay the person that they sold it to. They need, because the company's going to issue the one to the original owner. Now the short seller needs to pay a dividend to the person that they sold the stock to because they diluted the float per se. You know
right.
what I mean?
I just take a look at it as, I think the SEC is always going to protect the scumbags before they're going to protect retail. Maybe that'll change over the next 5 to 10 years, but just as somebody sitting on the sidelines, I personally I would jump into GameStop for a lot of reasons, but that's not one of them. If they actually came out with that PR, I mean, again, in theory, it's going to create a stock that literally has zero short sellers. So that stock can never go down unless people sell. And I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I
Yeah.
don't want to be Debbie Downer, but that's my 3 cents on it.
No, and you know what? And I see that point too because I'm always trying to look at things critically and with skepticism. You know what I mean? Like for me,
Yep.
even if I'm really optimistic on a stock, I want to still look at play devil's advocate and look at the other side and say, okay, what's the bear thesis on this? What's the what
Right.
would I be saying if I wasn't in this stock? And that
Right.
perspective on it too is like, you
Yeah, and I don't even consider that a bear thesis because I'm bullish on GameStop for what we were talking about last night with Ryan Cohen and the people that have been brought in on the board. And I really, truthfully, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't ever see this thing going sub 150 again. And I think it only has upside, especially around $200. I would be a buyer if I had any dry powder. Um, but that's a great point you bring up too. I think it's important to bring up a bear case and any other perspectives on things. As far as Clover goes, if you guys don't know, there's really only two kind of bear cases out there right now, which number one being that we're free cash flow negative, and number two being that dumb, stupid, ridiculous Hindenburg report that came out. So I think once we bypass those, I think we're off.
Yeah, and I could see those even being as I talked about. Someone had asked earlier in this stream like what were some potential catalysts, and I know I probably left some out, but I think the findings from either finding out that Hindenburg report was BS or the DOJ SEC stuff. If once that goes away, either
Mm-hmm.
either and I by go away I mean even if they're found like to have done some wrongdoing with the SEC, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a $5 million fine. Well, $5 million fine,
Ball fine.
yeah, it means nothing. You know what I mean? It's or whatever it is. I think just getting
Yep.
past it, finding out that there was no wrongdoing, or hey, there was.
Right.
Here's your fine, pay it and move on. I think that'll maybe invite some more institutional investors in as well. Was there any other catalyst? I don't know if you were listening earlier. Was there anything I kind of left off?
Yeah, I was, and I was like, when I heard that, I'm like, I'm glad he's taking that question because I don't know of any coming up. I
Yeah,
really don't.
I mean that the that Russell thing already went past. We didn't get in. We didn't get in there. Obviously, finding out the about the kind of bear thesis that is out there, or the investigations, all that kind of stuff, to see that all get cleared up and move past, that would be huge. And then just as the company expands, I mean, right now, I don't know what the exact number of states is.
Right.
11 states that they're operating in, and 209
Yeah,
counties.
209. Yeah.
So that continues to expand, those are all potential catalysts. Next week they can announce that they're expanding into 20 more counties. And I mean, shit,
Yeah.
that is a 10% increase. Like if they're sitting at 200 counties now, 20 more would be a 10%
Yep.
of, which will just continue to get them to grow. Um,
Have you read that there's an article by Living It, and he works in the healthcare industry, and that guy, he wrote the best article I've read so far, and he was talking about how each member, each customer or life under management or whatever you want to call it, was that's how you value a healthcare company, and he was relating it to a few other companies, and basically with like we had about what 66,000 members, and then I think we just doubled that. And so basically, each member is somewhere between, if it's Medicare Advantage versus Medicare, direct contracting Medicare, it's worth anywhere from like $58,000 to $70,000 a head. And with that valuation, lowest compared to everybody else in the industry, we should be sitting right around $20 and highest $27. And that's just from a sheer, fundamental level, not even speculation at all. And speculation's worth the world. Look at Tesla. Tesla is 10 times overvalued right now. It's being propped up on speculation, and it'll probably always stay propped up on speculation.
uh, Absolutely. And we just haven't gotten that to that speculative point yet with Clove, right?
Yep.
But no, that living it. So I actually and had him kind of explain to me like that whole article and really break it down and then I did a video with his permission, just basically summarizing that DD because I kind of found that
Mm.
same way, and that's where I've come up with these price targets of like $20 to 20
Yep.
was basically through him. But the important thing about that is, like you said, that was before this recent expansion, right? So
Right. Right.
it just doubled. So now, to me, now I don't know how many, if they've come out with numbers on how many contracts they have, but if they were at 66,000 contracts, and let's say they doubled all of a sudden to 120,000, now you're looking at double the price target to, a low of what, $40? But for anyone who's not familiar, one, I did do a video uh, a couple weeks back. It was called Clove, not just a squeeze play. So, yeah, but anyways, this dude did some great research, and there was two comparable companies, both IPO'd within the same time frame as Clove, but the discrepancies were ridiculous. Like I don't have the number
Yep.
in front of me, but it was like one company, if you break it down per contract per client, was getting somewhere around like 60,000, and then the other company was getting somewhere around 40, 30,000, and then Clove right now on a per contract was way down at like 12,000. Uh,
Yeah,
that's not the actual money that the company's bringing in. That's based on the market cap of the company.
correct.
And if you said, okay, this company's market cap is this much. Let's divide it by the amount of patients they actually serve and get this valuation number. And I thought that was a really interesting way of using that to come up with where Clove should be fundamentally. But it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I mean that's how you value a healthcare company. And I just ran the math. I think by the end of 2021, Clover Health has come out and said they expect to be at 200,000 members, and so with that, it came out to I think a $12 billion market cap, which would put us with 408 million total outstanding shares around $30. I mean, and keep in mind too, that's just a market cap based upon total outstanding shares. I mean, the float on this sucker is way, way, way lower, and that's the low end, $30 by the end of 2021, just from a fundamental standpoint. And then you add speculation on top of that, or high fundamental value and speculation on top of that. I mean, that's why I think our healthy base is somewhere in the 30s and 40s, and I
Yeah.
don't know, man. I'm
No,
bullish,
and that doesn't even include the squeeze potential. You know,
right?
that's why I say, like right now, for anyone looking for an entry point, an early entry point, like the beginning stages of a squeeze, I think Clove is that. You know, I mean, yeah, we were at $6 a couple weeks back, and that would have been an even more amazing entry point. But in the grand scheme of things, you're still looking at a stock that here, like you're saying, by the end of the year now, a $30 price target. So it could still triple from where it's at now to be a fundamentally good investment by the end of the year. I mean, that's insane to be able to get into any stock like that. But then to be able to get into a stock like that that also has the potential to squeeze upwards of God
I
knows how.
know, right?
Yeah.
And if you're new to this stock, just it's always good when insiders hold. And insiders, I mean, they have 250 million shares by my math. Vivek and entities aligned with Vivek have about 100 million apiece alone, and then Chamath has 30 million. So they're not going anywhere. They want to see this sucker turn into United Health, Cigna, Humana, and to go back to the talking living it, I've talked to him via Reddit just as early as yesterday because I was like maybe he'll want to like do an interview, and he said no, he'd rather just like kind of stay out of the video realm, which I totally get. But you know what I asked him? He said he'd help with some DD, and I was like, what can I ask this guy? What would be the single most important question to ask this guy? And in my mind, if you take a look at, so Clover has said by 2030 they want to be across the entire United States and expect to be doing about 25 billion in revenue, which pales in comparison to someone like United Health who does about 370 billion in revenue, I believe. I don't know their margins and all that, but I mean United Health has 900 million outstanding shares. They have like a almost a 400 billion dollar market cap. Their price per share is in the 400s right now. So I asked him, I said, do you think Clover Health could turn into United Health? And obviously they'd have to expand into like commercial and individual lines instead of just Medicare and Medicare Advantage. And he said, but yes, I'm sure they will eventually enter the other insurance markets, Medicaid, commercial, individual, etc. So I mean he thinks, and I think the board thinks that they could turn into, somebody like United Health.
Dude, that would be. I mean, now you're talking this stock going, absolutely from where it's
Yeah,
at. As they continue to expand, this is definitely a what I would consider to be kind of a hyper growth stock. A stock that you can get into that has the
right,
potential. If you hold it long enough, I'm not talking about squeeze now.
right.
Hold it long enough can times 10 on its own. You know, fundamentally
Well,
or even
well, I
higher.
mean, well, that's what the board thinks. I mean, that's why they did what they did. And I think you mentioned the magic word, growth stock. AMC and GameStop right now, they're not growth stocks. They're amazing, and they have a lot of potential, especially GameStop, but they are cyclicals. They're small cap plays, and they need to turn into a growth stock. Clover is already an organic growth company, which is considered now to be a growth stock and will in the future and hopefully 2030 continue it. And if you see, I mean, if you take a look at United Health's chart, I mean, they went from like $30 to like the 400s over the course of like 5 years. So to me, institutions are going to jump in. Everybody's going to jump in. The a little fun fact for you. I was doing some research last night. The video game industry is, I think, like a $20 billion industry, and then like mobile gaming is like a $70 billion industry. So that's a huge industry, right? $100 billion. The healthcare industry is a $10 trillion industry today. What are they going to be in? What's that going to be in 10 years? So
No, I definitely, definitely. That's why great
we
entry.
said,
Can't stress that
yeah.
enough. I know some people come in and they get shy because they see like, oh well, it was at $6. It's already doubled.
Hmm.
But I think this is definitely early stages. Like, and even from a squeeze perspective, like I looked at GameStop at $3. I read, some of the DFV stuff at $3, and I didn't buy in. And then I was looking at it at $10, and I didn't buy in. I didn't buy in until 30, and that's when
Wow.
I really on the first run up. That's when I really was like, okay, this is for real. I
Yeah.
wasn't in early like I feel like we are in at Clove right now, where people that got in at 6 got in at 12. Who cares if you got in at 15, 20, or 30
Seriously.
about a stock going up to $200? I mean, yeah, it makes a difference, but to me at least, we've already seen the consolidation period. You're not buying in at 28 where it was at last week or 2 weeks ago. This is the new base.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. That was another cat. Thank you, Frank. Other potential catalyst is Biden lowering Medicare eligibility age. Yeah, so if they did that, that would be a
Great point.
customer base that would add on into the existing counties that they're already in. That would potentially bring in more. Um, I gotta it's 8 o'clock. I'm gonna have to sign off here because I gotta go get my kids, make them
Yeah,
breakfast.
man. I'll let you finish up with everybody, but love you, Clover fam. Thanks, Coach B. I really appreciate it, man. I know you're doing a lot of good things for this community, and just thank you all around. So
Dude,
hope you have a good.
I think this was fun.
Yeah, let's do it again.
You want to maybe we'll figure it out. We can make it like a weekly thing or bi-weekly or whatever works for
Yeah,
you.
weekly works for me.
Yeah, and we could just kind of do pick a day, and maybe Mondays is the day, and we just kind of roll with it. But I thought this was fun,
Yep.
and just sitting here talking stocks, and I just got to remember to get back to the chat more often because sometimes we start talking, and the chat ends up with stuff that's 20 minutes
I
ago.
know.
I just got to remember to do that. But anybody who maybe
What?
signed late, Tarheel Blue has a YouTube channel. Please go support him. I put the link in the description to this video. Go on there, subscribe, like his videos, show him some support. He's dropping some good knowledge, great technical analysis, and just good research on Clove and try to help build the Clove community. So
Thanks,
please,
brother. I appreciate the support. I'm gonna sign off. Have a good day.
yep, all right. Thank you very much. Let me see if I can figure out. This is my first. Oh, there we go. All right. I was trying to figure out how to get the. There we go. All right. So you guys. Okay. Co-creator says Dutch is live streaming now. So yeah. So if anyone wants to continue to watch Clove, Dutch trades. He's doing. He live. He's been live streaming lately too, dropping a lot of great information about Clove. If you want to go on there and jump in and follow them. I'll be doing this every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then when I can, I'll jump on and do a power hour too. So if you subscribe, you'll get notified. When I actually do go live. Uh, all right, last question. When will the insiders be able to sell? There's a couple different types of insiders that have different stuff. So there's some that can be sold, I think, in July. There's other ones that the stock needs to be trading above $30 for 90 days. But I don't necessarily see insiders like kind of like how Tarheel was just talking about. I don't think insiders are gonna like dump right away. I mean, they seem to be in this for the long haul. The type of companies that are actually invested, like Green Oak Capital or Shamath or some of them. I mean, why would they sell at 12 or 13 or 15 when I mean this stock was already trading upwards of 16? I think they see this as a $30 and higher stock or a huge growth potential stock that they want to hold on to and get this thing into the hundreds before they do sell. That's just my speculation. Um, Let me see here. So real quick before I sign off, again, so space down 5% almost on the day, 53.30. AVXL has dropped down. Remember I talked about it was at 32. It's down to 28. I still haven't exited my position. That might be a stupid move on my part. I'll update you on that tomorrow. BNGO back up 4.5%, but still couldn't stay above 8. And it looks like AMC's the big mover right now, almost at 8% up on the day, trading at 58.37, and that's the high of the day too. So I know $60 has been a big resistance level for them. So we'll see how that goes. CLOV down 2%, currently 12.72. And GameStop up on the day, but not nearly as much as it was earlier, trading at around 213. I know we didn't do a lot of technical and talking about resistance levels and stuff because we were, I was talking to Tar Heel, but I thought that was fun. If you're able to come back on for Power Hour, I'll get it more into that and I'll get more in depth on the chat, and that'll be from 12 to 1. Um, but I really got to leave. Thank you guys for joining. Hit the subscribe button, and I will see you later on. Thank you.